So friends, today's story, all these stories I want you to know now that I'm sharing with you are all from the very early years, or the earliest year. So I want to tell you the following by way of introduction, that it's quite a paradox, and that is the Rebbe, in the not just early years, throughout his Nesias, is the only Rebbe that for him the Rebbe was the Frierdiker Rebbe, period. The Siddur, all the Rebbeim resisted and what have you, and eventually took the mantle of leadership. But then that was it. He's the new Rebbe. There was no Rebbe. That's Malchus, complete bittul. That he's just in a sense one of the Chassidim. We're all Chassidim of the Rebbe, which is the Frierdiker Rebbe. That's a fact, as we all know. And that, I'm going to say it aloud, wrong term. Fact number two, nobody spoke about what a Rebbe is like our Rebbe did. And no one spoke about what a Rebbe is and the critical and bittul and iskashus. And of course, he was able to speak about this, in quotations, able, because he wasn't talking about himself. It's all of us in our bittul to the Frierdiker Rebbe. So we learned what a Rebbe is and what's iskashus and bittul really from the Rebbe, really explaining this to us, especially in the early years. You follow that? So kind of a context for the story. Here's the story. There was a businessman, this is the time of the Rebbe Marash, that in his home, unfortunately, there wasn't Shalom Bayis. So he went to Peterburg and lived there many years alone. After some considerable time, his friends convinced him that he should go home and reconcile and make peace. He agreed and went home. On the way home, he passed by Lubavitch and decided he'll go into Rebbe Marash for Yechidus and to tell him his whole story, which is what he did. When he finishes telling Rebbe Marash his whole story, he adds, incidentally, that in Petersburg, he got an offer, a deal is being presented by a certain minister in government. And therefore, he's thinking that once he goes back home and reconciles with his wife, he'll then go back to Petersburg and do the deal. So Rebbe Marash hears him out and says to him, go straight back to St. Petersburg and finalize the deal, and then go home. So he looks at the Rebbe and he's in shock. So many years he hasn't been home, and now he's decided to go home. But he's on the way home, and the Rebbe says to him, go back. And there's no rush. So why should he go back now to Petersburg? And he asked the Rebbe, why? I'll go later. So the Rebbe Marash says to him, go now. So the businessman says to the Rebbe Marash, no, if the Rebbe says to me to go, I'll go. But maybe the Rebbe will tell me why. To which the Rebbe Marash responded, if I tell you why, then you'll be a Rebbe. So he went back, and the Rebbe told him, when he comes there, as he's going to meet this officer, this minister, this official, he sees him walking down the steps of his house, and he's about to go outside the country for a long time. And when this official sees the Jew, he says, oh, okay, come inside. And there they concluded and signed the deal, for which he became very wealthy. And then he understood why the Marash urged him to go back without delay to Petersburg. Had he come later, he would have lost the entire opportunity. End of story. Now the Rebbe says, the story is a little bit strange. Why did it bother Rebbe Marash to tell him the reason? So the Rebbe concludes by saying, because the true connection has to be Not I do because I understand, but out of a sense of what? Out of a sense of complete bittul and trust and faith. That's the lesson from the story, which the Rebbe says, he elaborates a little bit. Yeah, I just want to add to this the following. This is also the Rebbe's own words. We don't know how it ever works. Sometimes here's the fact, the Rebbe doesn't know himself. He just says, like the story of the Tzemach Tzedek, how was I to know that the child was a mute? He told him to go tell your mother that your father is over here. Now, in a way, that's even higher. Because the Rebbe sees, he sees, he says. But when he doesn't even see, and just this is the answer that comes, that's even a deeper expression. And somebody once asked the Rebbe in the early years, how does the Rebbe take upon himself responsibility? People ask him, operate, don't operate, business, questions of life and death, or questions of livelihood. And the Rebbe asks questions and have the answers. The Rebbe responded, I'm not afraid to say I don't know if I don't know. But if I do, then I'm obligated to respond. What I'm saying is that I do know in this story that Marash apparently did see, but not always. And that's even deeper because that is just that's a complete bittul to truth and a complete empathy with the other person that even without seeing and understanding, just feels the situation, just a complete conduit for the emes, and the initial response is the truth. And there's many dramatic stories of the Frierdiker Rebbe that it's a long story there. A father and a son leaving America and going to Europe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe said you shouldn't go. And the end was that the ship sank. And he came back and he said, if you saw the ship is going to sink, first of all, say why and save all the people. To which the Rebbe responded, I didn't see. But the question was asked. This is what I felt as the answer. The Rebbe's first instinct is, as he said, I don't answer. The words he used was, I don't answer. It's enfritzach. The answer, the answer flows, and that's what I expressed. This is even deeper, in a sense, than seeing or prophecy. It's just simply being completely in tune with Hashem and the emes, and just responding instinctively to what the emes is. Anyway, that's just in addition to the story we just told, and the Rebbe's message, that if you would know you'd be a Rebbe, that's not your job. Our job is to carry out and do what we have to do, and that's the foundation. Nasa, and then if there's a nishma, good. If there's no nishma, so it remains with Nasa, and that remains the foundation. Okay, my friends.